You're welcome to the Thursday edition of Dominion Sport right here on Dominion Television, your channel of choice. Good morning to you, and trust me, we're so excited. Join us this wonderful morning. We're going to be taking journey into the world of sport from the local front, also giving you update from the international scene. The camp of the Super Eagles are very much open at the game between Iran and Jordan. The players are training right there in Turkey, and definitely we'll be giving an update from the world of the WTA and the ATP. Yes, sir, we're talking about the Miami Open. One to look forward to the semi-final stage at the WTA, and also the ATP was to getting to the closer stage of the competition. All this and more on the show. I am Paul Abed Toluwanimi, and I'm not alone in the studio this wonderful morning. I have Sanuruddin Alimi joining me in the studio. Feels good to be back, and I'm so excited to have you on the show this wonderful morning.
Thank you very much for having me, Toluwanimi. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to be back here again. And you said it all. We have tennis, we have football, and the interesting thing is there are no international European Cup games this weekend, so we had loads of international stories to talk about, ranging from World Cup qualifiers. You know, DR Congo and a host of other teams are looking to snatch the last automatic ticket to the World Cup, and there are regulations coming from hosting nations about how to bring in players and fans into the venues of their city. So that's and more to talk about. The Miami Open is now at the semi-finals. The ATP front two is getting closer to the semi-finals, like you mentioned. So we'll have lots to talk about.
Lots to talk about. Let's just start off before we talk about the Senegal situation. FIFA have just announced that the maximum amount of players in the squad will be 26 this World Cup. Countries will still have until May 30th to submit the final squad list.
Yes, that's nice. It's series of injuries has happened over the course of the season for loads of teams, and a lot of national teams would want to have their key players fresh and keep them for important matches. And we can see teams are already pulling the plug on their players for their national duties for this coming international window, just to give them extra time to rest. So if there's a loophole or an extra favor from FIFA to add 3 players, that will give the coaches less headache and strengthen the key areas to complete this. So I see the end of the day, we still have 5 substitutes and the normal regulations for the World Cup. So having more players for those national teams and their players and the coaches is a very good one.
Definitely tomorrow we'll be bringing you more updates on the situation around the FIFA World Cup, because there are now new rules are set, and we'll be giving you that information tomorrow. It's countdown to the World Cup. We'll start off just like we usually do right here on Dominion Sport. Let me also inform you, still talking about the FIFA World Cup, the USA wants fans from Senegal, Cape Verde, Ivory Coast and Tunisia to pay $15,000 a deposit if they want to go to the 2026 World Cup. The Trump administration says this rule is meant to stop people from staying in the country illegally.
When I heard the news, it was very funny to me, because, and you won't excuse Trump. A lot of people have misused these opportunities to get away and gain unlawful stay in those countries and cities. So, and with European nations recently and their counterparts everywhere in the world, they are trying to censor the amount of, or the demography of people that come into the countries. So this is a step by US, because we all know the World Cup is a global one. It's going to attract fans from everywhere. So we know they keep databases. I think that's what will aid their decision and say, okay, people from such regions, they are likely to do this. But if you have something at stake that will stop you from, okay, I have a deposit I have to claim back if I want to go back to my, if I want to gig. So it's a very good one for their country, but for most of people that are looking to gain entry into that, it's a sad one for them.
Okay. Let's move away from that. Let's talk about the Senegalese Federation. It's lodged an appeal at the Court of Arbitration for Sport on Wednesday against the decision to strip, them of their African Cup of Nations title after the final result was overturned. Senegal were ruled to have fortified the game in Rabat on the 18th of January because they walked off the pitch in a protest at the potential decisive penalty awarded to the opponent, Morocco. They returned after 14 minutes to win the match 1-0, but the Appeal Board of African Soccer governing body, CAF, last week replaced the result with a 3-0 victory for Morocco. Let me inform you that the FSF appeal seeks to set aside the CAF decision and declare the FSF's winner of AFCON. It also requests an immediate suspension of the time limit to submit an appeal brief until CAF decision is notified with full grounds. Let me inform you that the CAF said in a statement, the arbitration panel will be appointed to consider this matter. Following this, a procedural calendar will be established. And let me inform you that the Senegalese government earlier called for an inquiry into the removal of the title. And also, we are getting a report that by Thursday, which is today, they're going to sit and we're going to get a verdict. That's the update coming through from the Senegalese Football Federation.
Yes, that's a nice one. And we expected it from them. And I like how they didn't let the ground get wet before they went to the situation as fast as possible. So it's a good one. We expect the verdict from the appeal courts now, and whatever decision they make, would have more comments on that.
All right, and that's the update we're getting, and definitely we'll be giving you more comment on the situation surrounding, the Senegalese Football Federation and also CAF. Let's move away from that and let's talk about the Super Eagles as they launch their training in Turkey despite Calvin Bassey injury. They've been informing that 3 times African Cup champions winner arrived right there in Tokyo on March 24 for friendlies against Iran on the 27th of March, which is tomorrow, and Jordan on the 31st of March. Defender Calvin Bassey withdrew due to back injury, leaving Eric Chels with 22 players, including captain Wilfred Ndidi, Ademola Lookman, Alex Wobi, Samuel Chukwueze, and Moses Simon in the team. The section built sharpness ahead of this test, offering a chance to experiment before the World Cup qualifiers, with fans hoping these players like Sami Ajayi should step up. That's the update we're getting, and there you can see the players also training ahead of the friendly game.
Yes, that's what we want to see. There's 15 months between now and the next AFCON, and that will be a chance for them to redeem themselves, because the almighty verdict from FIFA last week has totally dashed the hopes of the players going into for a chance to go to the next World Cup happening later this year. So I think that's off their minds now. And the next trophy in prospect for them is against is the AFCON. And they have friendlies against Iran and Jordan in Turkey. Good one. You can see the training session going on in the background. So we want to see what Eric Chell is going to do with the new players that he has in his. He's without Osimhen, so that gives him a chance to try different strikers that have not played in that position. And Calvin Bassey also withdrew yesterday due to back injury. We understand that the running is coming for most teams, and we mentioned that earlier. A lot of teams will pull the plugs on their players to keep them fit for the business end of the season. So that's the end. And for other players, this is also a chance for them. Which player are you looking forward to in the list of players that just came to the national team?
I think it's going to be the Fernandez guy and also the guy from Genk. I mean, I'm just going to look at those players properly tomorrow, watch, and I hope that they start because, since Calvin Bassey is not available, maybe Fernandez, would fit in from Rangers. I'm talking about the player from Glasgow Rangers, so maybe he could fit in to that system. But for me, I'm still very much, of the belief that we should do better when it comes to the scouting of the midfield. I'm talking about the engine room. I know it's the same lad we see every time. You talk about Wilfred Ndidi. They have paid their dues, but I think we need more firepower when it comes to the midfield, especially, the likes that we have not been able to have a comfortable 10. We just saw, the resurgence, of Alex Iwobi during the AFCON, which was fantastic for everybody to see, but we want more of that and more players to put him on his toes. If, he's not delivering, at least we have this. I think that all the time we had a certain player like Joe Aribo coming to the system, showed a glimpse of what he could offer, but I think the fact that he could not stay consistent with injury and the likes like that.
He moved to Premier League.
That just closed the door for him.
Injuries for him, and he didn't try to impress him. Southampton, they went back to relegation, and nobody's seeing him these days anymore. So it's a sad one. But like you mentioned, the midfield is very important for the Super Eagles. We need these are windows we should utilize to try and, because these things don't make too much bearings. If we have 15 months to prepare for the next tournament, we should start with pairings and permutations of players that can fit well into the position we want to play. And I think they should settle the coach debacle as well. He has just 1 month on his contract. Is he going to be with us on the long term? Or
I agree, because honestly, I saw a statement coming out from some ex, Super Eagles players, coaches, and also saying the demand is not so much to ask for. It's something that, the NFF body can put pen to paper and let's get it sorted out with, because you're talking about 1 month now left on the contract. What happens if he gets a bigger offer, from another African team that is going to the World Cup?
So, I don't know how NFF and the bodies, how they settle the contract situation, but we hope they look into it as soon as possible and put the mind of the players at rest. Okay, these are the players, and ask him for a proper plan as well. You can't just demand for those things and not give us what an expectation or list of expected things we should see from the side going forward. And that I think should motivate the NFF and the coach as well to to find the middle ground. If we're offering you this, if we are giving you this, you should also give us this. And I think that would push the nation forward and the football scene as a whole.
All right, beautiful. Now it's time to talk about the Miami Open. We are nearing the business end of the Miami Open with 2 semi-final spots still up for grabs on the women's side of the tournament, while the men's quarterfinal, is set on the way. It's one to look forward to, and I'm sure Sanuruddin Alimi will be giving us that update. And let me inform you that world number 1, Aryna Sabalenka, and second-ranked Elena Rybakina on Wednesday booked a blockbuster semi-final at the Miami Open. And I'm sure, I really wanted Eli, Baptiste, to pick up that victory, but it's Aryna Sabalenka. You can't, and she's yet to lose a set in the Miami Open.
Yes, and that's fantastic when you read out a very brilliant stat about Sabalenka, and it's not a time for Eli Baptiste. She's going to have her time. There was a time was Serena, and now it's Sabalenka ruling the tour.
Yeah.
Rybakina is not far behind, which has, in my own opinion, plays better, but Sabalenka just has more power than me. So, for me, it's going to be a blockbuster. They've played each other twice now. The last one was in the final of the
Indiana Wells.
Indiana Wells. Yeah. So this is a chance for Sabalenka to pick up, to do the sunshine double, or Rybakina gets her revenge in this semi-final. And in that semi-final, we have Coco Gauff, who booked her place with the fourth consecutive semi-final yesterday, and she's going to play Muchova in the semi-final. She played Jessica Pegula. It was a hard-fought victory for her as well.
Victory. I just talked about imposter syndrome, and I was surprised that this athlete go through a lot just to give a whole lot, when it comes to the courts.
It's very difficult for them, and this was one of the things they complained in the last Grand Slam. There are a lot of cameras in their faces. That's defeated the purpose of a gentleman's sport. You see, when a game is about to be played, the umpire thank you, ladies and gentlemen, time, and everybody goes silent to allow the players concentrate. It's a very fast-paced game. It demands absolute concentration. So it's single lapse in concentration can cost you a very important point, and that's why it's gentle. And since you can't get the fans to make noise and all, the cameras or the coverage of these players, they are also humans. They have emotions. Imagine the player mourning a loss on her way to the dressing room and smashing a rack or dropping a bag, and that is where the camera will pan to and use to write stories in the media.
Yeah, but come on, we're in the media space, and that's what we need.
That's what we need.
That's what we need to actually drive the story. That's what we need, actually.
If you have it for a few seconds, take it off. Those are sad moments or personal moments or emotional moments. That should not be
the bulk of the story.
The bulk of the story. Shine more on the performance of those players. He or she fought so hard to be on that stage. Yeah. So we shouldn't use our downtime to write the whole story of the situation. So, but now good one for her. He has a chance at the trophy again. I think she's favorite to defeat Pegula and Muchova this time around, and face whoever wins in the other semi-final, the blockbuster like you mentioned. On the ATP front in Indiana Wells, I'm trying to get the fixtures and the ones that are going on right now. I'm sorry.
It's one to look forward to, actually. You talk about the world of tennis, and this Otto Fuse, and he's speaking highly of how he's comfortable, and this is one of the top victories he has enjoyed in a long while.
Yes, Tommy Paul was a home favorite, very difficult one for him, and it took the match to decide to get to the semi-final at the end of the day. It was a very, very beautiful game between both of them. First, and when you have the home support and the home crowd, it tends to push the crowd and fans to one side of the player. They'll make jeers at you when you drop points. Those are the chance they have to throw jabs and bans at you. And at the end of the day, he was able to get the victory. Good one for him. And the match I'm looking forward to, especially now, is Tiafoe against Jannik Sinner.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the stats and I'm wondering, this player is not a different player from last year. He literally struggled. I'm talking about Tiafoe, but now he's back in good form. And you see a fantastic, a fight at the end, for Tiafoe world number 20 and also Jannik Sinner world number 2.
Yes, he was being treated as one to be on the biggest stages in the earlier stages of his career, but I think injury and how fast tennis moves around you. If you're not dominant enough, you get
you have the pedal.
You have the pedal and you slip up the rankings, and the stories are not about you anymore. But it's shown glimpses of greatness. He's had a very good year in tournament, and leading up to the clay resurgence or the clay games, he's had a fantastic tournament. I think Yannick Sinner will be too strong for him in the end of the day, but
Okay.
still, he's going to be a very good one to look forward to.
Beautiful, beautiful. Also, we need to speak about, Serendolo and Zverev also, having to see themselves through to that one. Also, it's going to be Otto Fields also playing Eka. That one also to look forward to for you.
Yes, that's
yeah.
those are the semi-finals that have been settled on the male front.
the male
And for
front,
me,
yeah.
Zverev, very powerful semi-finalist in the Australian Open. One player I feel came at the wrong generation. If we didn't have the Jannik Sinner,
Yeah.
Carlos Alcaraz
Alcaraz,
battle
yeah.
right now, I think that's one player that should